Welcome back, guys. This is King Weebs, and this is What If Naruto had Momoshiki sealed inside of him, and we'll get straight into it. We begin this video with Minato actually fighting the Nantos and pretty much creating the Reaper Death Seal. Something that happened midway during all of this, Minato would actually seal half of the Nantos inside of him, and as he was actually sealing the other half of the Nantos into Naruto, Momoshiki would teleport in out of nowhere. He didn't know what was happening, but he felt the Nantos in the middle of the village or in somewhere near the village. He would teleport, well, with his back turned towards Minato without realizing what Minato was doing. He feels the Reaper's hand go through him. I know it's an Otsutsuki, so an Otsutsuki could fight off the Reaper Death Seal, as clearly we saw Orochimaru doing it with the Hokage, and we've seen something similar with Naruto playing tug of war with his soul and reanimated Nagato at his prime when he was trying to suck out his soul and or rip out his soul with his Kurama chakra arms. And here I'm going to use some plot armor. Of course, it's going to be quite hard for Minato in a weakened state to pretty much, well, seal away an Otsutsuki, and he would fail as a whole. And so I know, and also there is the factor we need to factor in that Minato clearly says in the manga and in the anime that the Naruto's is just too much chakra to seal away in one go. However, once again, plot armor comes in, and the Minato was wrong, as the Reaper Death Seal, or the Reaper Death Seal, was much stronger than he thought it was, and he was able to seal away both Momoshiki and Naruto into, or not Naruto, Momoshiki and Kurama, or the Naruto's into Naruto, baby Naruto. Momoshiki was confused, but he realized what happened, and pretty much he would curse Minato as he got caught off guard, and really he couldn't do anything now. He couldn't get out, and he couldn't even do the things with the karma, as the only way to give Naruto the karma is for both of them to accept each other's powers and be allies at this point, because Naruto is not a vessel of a Momoshiki. Naruto hasn't killed Momoshiki, and the only way for him to get out is through breaking the seal, which they could do with Kurama and everything. And you'd think that Momoshiki would take Kurama in, but he realizes that they're in two different cages. Yes, they would be put into two different cages. Once again, plot armor coming in. I don't really like using plot armor too much. I'm joking, I love using it, but because it makes my life easier, as I don't have to explain too many things by changing too many laws of Naruto. But here I'm going to have to use plot armor, otherwise it would be a very long explanation and a very long way to come up with some kind of way to seal away Momoshiki. But Naruto it was just convenient for Naruto to have two different cages. Anywho, Naruto would grow up the same way, and Momoshiki would see how, well, cruel humans were. At the age of 2, Naruto, who was just barely able to walk around the village, he would of course run out of the orphanage as he was getting beaten by everyone there. Kids, nuns, every single person there would beat Naruto on a daily basis, and he would run away. He'd be scared, alone, cold, as it was a winter night, and of course 2-year-old Naruto didn't know where he was going. Momoshiki had a change of heart here. Momoshiki was like, God damn it, if his own village doesn't help him out, I'll help him out myself. As Momoshiki sees a little gap in Naruto's seal, of course the seal is at its prime right now, but he sees that one little gap, that one little bit of hatred that Naruto is letting out. It's really small, as Naruto doesn't hate them, he's just confused on why they're doing this, and he's just sad, but there is that little bit of hatred where Momoshiki took advantage of and pretty much communicated with Naruto. Naruto heard a voice in his head saying, "Hey kid, I know you've had a rough life so far, and it's quite surprising that even I care." as I couldn't care less about you or your parents, as I hate your parents for doing this to me. But Naruto didn't really understand much, but Momoshiki tells him to go here and there, as Momoshiki could feel where the Hokage was. Naruto didn't know where the Hokage was, and he didn't really know his way around the village, although he can see the Hokage Tower towering over all the other, well, buildings. You could see it, but Naruto is just too short to actually see over buildings right now. And even when he's far away, it's hard for him, as the orphanage was actually quite close to many tall buildings as well, surrounding the Hokage Tower. So Naruto would just follow the instructions of Momoshiki, as Momoshiki would use his sensing abilities to feel where the people were and where Naruto should avoid going, as he would take really narrow alleyways to avoid as many people. And once he's seen, Naruto would run, and Momoshiki would tell him where to hide, as people wouldn't find him there. Now, after a few, I'll say an hour of walking, as Naruto had to go around all the buildings in slowly in narrow corners, and he had to avoid the villagers. He finally made it to the Hokage's office, and Momoshiki would cut his contacts with Naruto. Naruto would tell him, the Hokage would wonder how Naruto knew where he was and how he even got here, because last time he came here, it was because the nuns told the Hokage that Naruto wanted to see him, and he was throwing a tantrum, as he was just a child. And you know, Naruto would hug the Hokage. The Hokage doesn't pay too much attention to it, and pretty much tells Naruto that he can start living on his own. A 2-year-old Naruto would begin living on his own, and there would be always an Anbu in his home doing most of the stuff, and Naruto would always be confused. But eventually, once Naruto's 4 years old, 2 years after, pretty much the Hokage would no longer, the Anbu would no longer be by his side, pretty much making everything for him, and Naruto would have to do it alone. Anywho, now, of course, Naruto and well, Naruto would start training on his own, as he realized that the villagers will keep attacking him, and he needs a way to survive, or a means to protect himself from the villagers, as they will keep attacking him. Now, of course, he would begin training, and during this time, Momoshiki would see openings in Naruto's seal, which even the Naruto's couldn't see, as the Naruto's was just lazing around, and they never talked in the past 4 years. The Naruto's knew that Momoshiki was after him, and he was scared at one point, but he wasn't able to take him. And I knew now. Of course, Naruto would be training hard, and Momoshiki would always watch over him as like a father or something. And the Naruto's would actually speak up for the first ever time to Momoshiki, saying, "You really do care for that kid, don't you?" Momoshiki then looks at him and says, "So what if I do? I've grown fond of him. Unlike you, little fox." Of course, the Naruto says, "I will destroy you once I get out of this cage." Then Momoshiki laughs, saying that there is no way of getting out of this cage. It's going to be a long while before they can do that. Momoshiki, of course, well, I've lost words. Of course, the Naruto pretty much tells him to, shut up, because one day he will be out of this cage. And of course, Naruto would keep training, and Momoshiki would help Naruto out just a little bit. Every time he's out of chakra, Momoshiki would just boost it up just a tiny little bit, so he gets he can actually continue his training. Of course, the Nantos looks at him with a disgusted look, saying that he's helping a human when he's meant to be some kind of divine being. And of course, Momoshiki says, "So what if I am? You got a problem with it, little fox?" And then you know, the Nantos is like, "Fam, so calling me little fox. I'm massive." But anywho, now, I'd say a year had passed, and during this time, Naruto, well, he was he got quite strong, as Momoshiki gave him quite the power boosts. And anywho, now, of course, Naruto would be very very strong, as in physically, because that's what he's mostly been focusing on. And anywho, of course. in the end, Momoshiki would no longer help him as he realized that Naruto can do all of it on his own. And anyways, now another year passes, and Naruto actually starts tapping into, well, the Naruto's seal, which is not only the Naruto's but also Momoshiki's. Now, Momoshiki would realize that Naruto's actually trying to unlock the seal, and he'd be confused on why Naruto even trying, since he Naruto shouldn't know about them. Naruto, of course, does know about them by now. He felt it inside of him that there are things, or like beings within him that are living inside of him, and pretty much Naruto meditates on a day, and I'm just saying Naruto's around 6 now, and of course, Momoshiki would be very surprised to see Naruto in the middle of his mindscape. Naruto would ask them who they are, and the Naruto says, "Do you not know who I am? I am the great Ninetales, the one who destroyed this village all those years ago on your birthday. Now, get out of here, child." Of course, Naruto would say, "I'm not getting out of my own mind. You should be out of my own body, first of all. You annoy me, Ninetales, you know." Of course, the Ninetales then roars at him, which kind of scares Naruto, but then Momoshiki tells the Ninetales to stop and tells him, "Hey, you. Now, don't scare the child." Momoshiki gives him a smile. Yes, this is kind of. Well, this is not really Momoshiki's personality, but here, Momoshiki has been living in Naruto for the past 6 years. Now, we see pretty much Naruto and Momoshiki hanging out a little bit, and Naruto, well, he was able to loosen the seal a little bit, so both Momoshiki and the Nantos were able to, have some more space. And the Ninetales asked Naruto, is he not scared of him? And Naruto says, why would he be scared of the Ninetales? I mean, according to the villagers, he is the Ninetales. So you can't really be scared of him. So he gives the Ninetales a smile, which actually, well, the Ninetales eyes widen. He's like, no, no human has ever given me a smile. You're the first. And of course, Naruto says, well, I guess it's the first for me as well. And of course, Naruto means that he's never really smiled at Tail Beast, as he's never really met one. And then even now. Of course, the Naruto smiles for the first time in many years, and even Momoshiki is surprised, saying, "You fox's smile?" And of course, Chroma's offended is that you really need to shut up your rude asshole. And then you now, of course, Momoshiki's like, I mean, you have killed many villagers in the past few years, and then many people, thousands, in fact, in the past few thousand years. Of course, over hundreds of years. And then the Nantos just tells him to shut up, and Naruto laughs, saying that they're like brothers, always fighting. He wishes he had something like that as well. And pretty much, Momoshiki tells Naruto that if he ever wanted brothers, they can be his brothers. And of course, the Naruto looks at Momoshiki with a questioning look. Is that, are you really being serious? And of course, Momoshiki says yes, and you will go along with it. Understood. And of course, the Naruto looks a bit worried because he knows that this guy is very strong. He is stronger than him, and he knows that for a fact. And anywho, now, of course, the Naruto's would say, okay, whatever. And then if you now, Momoshiki and Naruto would talk a lot, as Momoshiki would always be giving Naruto tips and training, and he would even tell him how to make a shadow clone jutsu. Not a shadow clone, make a shadow clone jutsu, make a shadow clone, and then eventually he would teach Naruto how to use the multi shadow clone jutsu, which basically means that Naruto, within 2 years, he would learn a lot of jutsus. Remember, Momoshiki has a lot of jutsus in his arsenal, and it's quite easy for him to teach Naruto, as he memorized how to use them. Now, Naruto would manifest the Karma Seal, as Momoshiki would accept Naruto as his vessel, but not as a vessel, as him being his host, and he won't take over Naruto. Momoshiki has gotten very close to Naruto, and Naruto is now 8 years old. He has no friends still to this day, and the only person that he's actually close to is the Hokage and this one other girl that we won't mention yet, as she only secretly visits Naruto, as she's actually quite fond of Naruto because one time she got saved by Naruto from a few bullies. Now it's not Naruto, don't worry. Anywho, now of course Naruto and well, Momoshiki would be like legit brothers. Like Momoshiki would always help out Naruto whenever he needed it, or he needed tips on training or something similar. And pretty much Naruto would always be happy to talk to Momoshiki and the Ninetales. The Ninetales has been growing. Well, Naruto has been growing a bit more on the Ninetales as Naruto is very likable. And anywho, now the Naruto still scoffs every time Momoshiki tells him to, teach Naruto something on how to use his chakra, maybe. And Momoshiki actually scoffs, saying, "Me teaching him how to use my chakra? Are you out of your mind?" And anywho, now, of course, Momoshiki just uh, glares at him, and the Naruto glares back. But anywho, now, Naruto tells them to stop fighting, and he says it's fine. And anywho, now, Naruto does steal a lot of scrolls from the Hokage, and here the Hokage doesn't even notice. And anywho, now, Naruto has never really used the Karma Seal. The Karma Seal is like an empty USB, just like in the manga, or pretty much well, Ishiki told um, what Ishiki said, how there is a sort of a form of a karma where it can get information or the DNA of an Otsutsuki, but it has to be to do with the host, if the host wants it, and pretty much he tells sorry, his name is Code. He would tell Code, but here Momoshiki tells him that eventually Naruto will know how to use the Karma Seal, as he promises Naruto that one day he will allow him to use it, but not yet, as Naruto is not ready yet. He needs to be stronger, and he'll do it once Naruto learns Sage Mode. Momoshiki, Momoshiki can see the potential in Naruto and how he has potential to learn other jutsus with the other chakra natures, and he can see the chakra natures Naruto will have. One of them, of course, is wood release, and he knows that there is wood sage mode. And anywho, now, of course, what he means by sage mode, using nature energy, so he can actually fight against Otsutskis. Now, Naruto's goal right now is to learn sage mode, so one day he can use it, and then he would gain access to using the karma seal. And anywho, now Naruto will join the academy, and here there won't be well, here there won't be any Kiba. I'm going to say that Kiba was actually born a year after, so he wouldn't be in Team 8, but there would be Sasuke's sister, Tsuki. I'm bringing Tsuki back. I haven't really used her in a while. And anywho, now, Tsuki would be replacing, well, Kiba in Team 8, pretty much. And during the years of the academy, Naruto and Tsuki would be really good friends, and Sasuke, at first, he was good friends with Naruto, as Tsuki was friends with him, but eventually, they pretty much became distant because of the Uchiha massacre. At first, Tsuki was quite depressed as well, but she got over it quite easily. Not easily, but thanks to Naruto always being there for her, and anywho, now. Of course, eventually, well, Naruto and Tsuki actually begin training together, and pretty much their training goes very well, as they actually complement each other's fighting styles really well. And anywho, now, of course, Naruto, Sasuke would train as well, and he'd become stronger as well. But anywho, now, for right now, Naruto is still stronger than Tsuki, as Tsuki is nowhere near Naruto's strength. And anywho, now, Naruto, who of course is very very strong compared to Tsuki because of all the training he went through, thanks, and also Momoshiki's help. And anywho, he has a lot more jutsus than Tsuki does, and Tsuki is just trying to catch up, but she has the free Tomoe Sharingan. Sasuke only also unlocks the free Tomoe Sharingan, and anyway now. Naruto, over the 4 years, he would finally learn how to use all five chakra natures, and Momoshiki would be happy with Naruto's progress, and he would tell him that he's proud, and anyway now. Of course, Naruto's happy that Momoshiki is proud of him, and anyways now. Of course, Naruto and Tsuki are not put in the same team. Anyway, now Team Seven would still be created as Naruto would be in Team Seven, and Mizuki would try to steal the scroll ceiling on his own, and he would get caught. And anyway, now Naruto would still be waiting for oh, Kakashi, and anywho now. One last thing before we go on to meeting Kakashi and the bell test and everything. Naruto and Tsukome have developed feelings for each other by now, and they are pretty much going out at this point because of their relationship, close relationship. And anywho, I'm going to say that Hinata actually fell in love with Lee, as Lee actually was the one to help her out finding the way home when she was lost. And anywho, as Naruto was training at that time. Now, Team 7 would meet their Jonin sensei, and the Sakura would be utterly pissed off that, he's this late. And he's meant to be a Jonin, and this is their first meeting, so why is he so late? And anywho, now, of course, Kakashi doesn't really care if he's late or not, and tells them to meet him on the roof, and of course, all of them pretty much oblige, and well, Team Seven now actually has that introduction bit, like in the original, and Sakura says that she pretty much wants to be with Sasuke all the times, and she always looks at him for likes, for dislikes. She looks at Naruto because Naruto is basically someone she's never really liked in the academy. And anyways, now, of course. Naruto doesn't really care if she likes him or not, as really it couldn't, it wouldn't matter to him. And anywho, now, of course, then it was Sasuke. Sasuke says that he wants to rebuild his clan, and rebuild his clan, and pretty much kill a certain someone, and that certain someone Kakashi would know perfectly. It's obviously Itachi. And then Naruto would go next, and Naruto would say that he wants to become the Hokage and change this village, and he wants to be pretty much acknowledged by the villagers that he is not a beast or anything like that. He is just a normal boy, or a villager, or not a villager, but he's part of Konoha, pretty much. And now, of course, Kakashi realizes, Naruto is going, he's following his father's footsteps, and he wants to become Hokage as well. And anyways, now, of course, Naruto and Team 7 would be told about the test, not exactly what kind of test, but the test the next day. And anywho, now, Naruto would get ready for tomorrow, as he didn't know what kind of test was gonna be given to him, and he was just ready for anything pretty much. And anywho, now, of course, Team 7 would meet up the next morning, and Naruto would actually listen to instructions here, and of course he'd be hungry as hell. And anywho, Team 7 would still be left pretty much to wait for Kakashi until like noon. And now, once Kakashi arrives, of course, he takes them to Training Ground 7 and explains the bell test to them. And now, of course, Team 7 pretty much, begins the bell test as per normal, as Naruto Kando takes the lead and tries to take Kakashi on his own. And anywho, now, of course, it was a mistake because Kakashi easily destroys Naruto here, and of course Naruto is at a massive disadvantage already. And anyways, now, of course, Kakashi is pretty much packing Naruto in, as Naruto was caught completely off guard by Kakashi's speed, and now, of course, uh, Naruto would have a hard time against Kakashi, as he is a Jonin and Naruto isn't. And then eventually Naruto would get his footing and realize what Kakashi was doing. Kakashi was predicting Naruto's moves somehow, and this was because he's just a Genin, and Naruto still needs to pretty much train in his tactics, as he attacks pretty much. Randomly, he doesn't really have a plan to begin with. This is how he's always been fighting. But Momoshiki pretty much talks to Naruto and tells him to calm down. Naruto is much better than this in training with Tsuki than he is right now, and pretty much Naruto breathes in and out, and then opens his eyes again, and pretty much his karma seal starts growing a little, glowing a little bit, and it's actually blue, just like Boruto's one. And then now, Naruto would use his body flicker, which was just as good as Shisui's, catching Kakashi off guard, kicking him in the shoulder, and pretty much Kakashi going flying for a minute there. And then now, of course, Naruto would pretty much caught Kakashi off guard, and now we would see a fight ensue with Naruto and Kakashi, and Naruto was on equal grounds with Kakashi, and Sasuke would join in here. Naruto and Sasuke did train together once back in the days when they were still, well, kind of acquaintances, and Suzuki did ask no Sasuke if he could train with her, and Sasuke was like, just for today, no other days, understood. And pretty much, of course, Sasuke would have joined, and he would kind of remember how Naruto fought, and pretty much be able to keep up with Naruto and not get in his way. And now, none of them got in each other's way. Sasuke using fireball jutsu, pretty much catching Kakashi off guard with it, as he didn't think that Genin could even do that. And then Naruto coming in, pretty much using a, well, wind cannon by putting his hands onto Kakashi's stomach, and pretty much a wind cannon would blow him away. And then Naruto's clone would come out from the bush trying to take the bells. He touches the bells, however, he wasn't able to exactly get them. And then now, of course, he didn't really get the bells, and Kakashi was able to pretty much dodge Naruto's clone pretty swiftly as well. And he would then actually throw a fireball jutsu, a massive one, to the ground that would actually catch all of well, people on the ground, not only Naruto's clone, but Naruto, Sasuke, and the real Naruto. Of course, they all had to dodge except for Naruto's clone, as Naruto's clone didn't really need to dodge. And then now, Naruto and Sasuke would then pretty much fight Kakashi a bit more, and Sakura would finally come in as she saw a little opening for her to take the bells, and she takes both bells, which catches Kakashi off guard. Kakashi thought that Sakura was the type of girl to not even get involved in a fight, and clearly she just got involved, and she actually did well in actually catching him off guard. Taking the bells away from him was very skillful of her. And now, of course, Kakashi congratulates them on passing, as they used teamwork together. Although they didn't make a plan from the beginning, you can see that they used teamwork together. And just saying, Naruto hasn't shown anything. None of his well, strengths or anything has been shown in this test, or anything like that. And then Naruto is much stronger than what you think. I only used one jutsu. I only showed off one of Naruto's jutsus, but Naruto has already unlocked wood release by now, and also he's already got, well, all other five chakra natures. Naruto just didn't use them. He only used the well pretty much all he used was the body flicker that was on Shisui's level of body flicker. And then now, of course, Tsuki is actually quite strong with the three Tomoe Sharingan. Also, Sasuke was a lot stronger and faster thanks to his three Tomoe Sharingan. And Kakashi would take his team seriously and start training them. Anywho, now the 1 month training would begin, and Naruto would actually join them, as he would learn a lot of lightning release jutsus, and he would master his lightning release like he did his wind release and his fire and his the water. The only two that he'd never mastered were the earth and the lightning release. But Kakashi only knows about Naruto's lightning and wind release, which match up with, of course, Minato's chakra releases, and he understands why Naruto has those. He doesn't understand why Naruto has the other three, other than Kushina with the water, but he doesn't know about the other two, fire and Earth. And anywho, now Naruto wouldn't really train with them much. Sasuke would actually start learning the Chidori, as Naruto would train a lot with Tsuki, not Tsukome. And Tsuki knows about Naruto's true strength. And Naruto actually tries. Tsuki has to try hard as well. And Tsuki's the prodigy. She's a generational prodigy. And anywho, now Naruto would have stolen the scroll of sealing once and wrote, half of the book, or half the thing, because he has a wood release. So he needed to learn wood release jutsus. And in the process, he would write down the flying Raijin, which he's never used in years. The scroll that he has the flying Raijin in has been catching dust in somewhere in his home, and he's just learning wood release jutsu. He has the wood dragon jutsu, which he used against Suki once, as she was getting quite strong, and he was running low on chakra because the fight went on for 3 hours. And anywho, Naruto used the wood dragon jutsu, catching her off guard, binding her, and stealing her chakra, and then beating her. In the fight. And anywho, now Suki was she was like, that's not fair. Use the wood dragon jutsu, and Naruto's like, well, you got caught off guard by it. I mean, I did try to use it at the beginning of the fight, but you dodged it easily. And anywho, now, of course, Tsuki was bummed out that she wasn't able to beat Naruto. And anywho, now, of course, Naruto just laughs. And anyways, now, of course, we would see pretty much Team 7 finish their 1 month of D rank missions, or 1 month of training for Sasuke and Sakura. Sakura didn't really train much with them, but she did train here and there. And then now, it would have came in handy, as she is quite strong now. She's not as strong as she should be if she trained properly for the full for the full month, but she's getting somewhere. And anywho, now, of course, Team 7 would pretty much ask for a higher ranked mission because they're getting bored of D ranks, as they're way too easy. And anywho, Naruto wants to start doing higher ranked missions because these missions are way too the level is way too low, and he's not really there to just chase cats around, because he wants to become Hokage only, right? And then now, of course, the Team 7 would get their first ever C rank mission, and that would be the C rank mission to the Land of Waves. Now, of course, I haven't really mentioned anything about the karma, which I will right now, because during the 1 month training, Naruto would have actually gotten quite good with the karma seal, as he would have pretty much learned how to use a little bit of it. He wouldn't go all the way to his eye and everything. He would only be uh, up to his elbow right now. And whenever he uses it, he uses it alone. He doesn't want to show Tsuki yet, because he feels like it's something that he doesn't know too much about it yet, and he wants to first learn more about it. Anyways, of course, Tsuki would be fine with not knowing something. And anywho, now, of course, Naruto would have pretty much asked Momoshiki for his advice on how to use this karma seal thing that he gave him. And Momoshiki would laugh, saying that Naruto will just have to figure out on his own. And of course, eventually he would give Naruto a few tips here and there, because Naruto clearly seemed to be struggling. And uh, now we would see pretty much Naruto's training arc with Momoshiki, as Momoshiki would teach him how to use it. And in his mind, pretty much Momoshiki would, or Naruto would create a clone of himself, pretty much attacking himself. And of course, clearly Naruto could absorb the jutsu. For example, the fireball jutsu that he used on himself, he was able to absorb it and pretty much release it again, but with more chakra added to it. And anywho, of course, now This is all he learned within that 1 month because it was quite hard for for Naruto to learn it. And anywho, that is where I'm gonna end off. The 1 month training was over, and we would go into the land of waves up. I hope you all enjoyed it. Please take care, stay safe. This also came Weaves here, and my ducklings, you're dismissed, and peace.